Shalom Yashrala, this is your brother Dawada, coming back at you with this here truth again. First and foremost, I want to give all praise unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash, double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that taught us this truth never will. And salutation, much love for you, I can push this truth and sincerity on the four corners of the earth, and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. So real quick, I want to jump into this here lesson real fast, dealing with the prophecies taking place, man. All right, because shit, right now we can pretty much go into, a lot of these prophecies that seem like little small prophecies here and there, one-liners or whatever, whatnot, but they all speaking all at once right now. It's like beforehand, it's like listening to a conversation between you and, let's say, a friend of yours. You and your homeboy, they all just talking. You can clearly hear what he's saying. But then imagine you trying to go to a packed football stadium full of people, and everybody's talking and having a conversation. It's going to be hard for you to zero in on everybody's conversation because they all speaking, all at the same time. So it's like that. These prophecies is like all those people in the stadium all talking at one time. It's just like, it's kind of hard to keep up with everybody's conversation because all the prophecies are screaming right now. But nevertheless, we'll go ahead and read through this article real quick. It says, "Open your stupidly abandoned plant. Trump lashes out at GM and Ford over ventilator delays." All right. It says President Donald Trump has lost patience with automakers who promised to produce ventilators to treat COVID-19 patients, threatening to invoke his emergency powers to force General Motors and Ford to live up to their pledge, in which I believe this was it was started by George Bush, but I think it was in the because he did the Patriot Act. But what's his name? Barack Obama followed up with the NDAA Act. All right, and I think he did it twice. But nevertheless, in one of those situations, it gave the government sweeping powers to take control over pretty much all the resources. Your house, your car, the roads, anything for their own purposes. Even these auto plant makers and things like that, which we'll get into the prophecies, which is dealing with that. All right. It says they said they were going to give us 40,000 much needed ventilators very quickly, Trump tweeted on Friday. Now they're saying it will only be 6,000 in late April, and they want top dollar. All right. He added, "It's always a mess with GM CEO Mary Barra, and that he will invoke the Defense Production Act, a piece of wartime legislation giving the president the power to order manufacturers to produce essential supplies." In which, like I said, we see these prophecies speaking loud and clear, man. If you've been in these scriptures, all right, and doing your due diligence and reading and understanding these things, you already know what's coming. All right. General Motors must immediately open their stupidly abandoned Lordstown plant in Ohio. The president rant continued, referring to the plant GM shuttered after promising him to keep jobs in the U.S. It says, or some other plant, and start making ventilators now. Ford should do the same, he added, also in capital letters. All right. GM promised last Friday that it would partner up with Ventec Life Systems to scale up production of ventilators, vital medical devices used to keep the worst affected COVID-19 patients alive. And what's crazy about this, right? In a time like this where, all right, before the little virus situation, right, you already had a fuckload of people that was unemployed, man. Well, technically unemployed, all right, or underemployed, or overqualified, all right. You have people with college degrees, or people who had, office jobs, six-figure incomes, things like that, now driving Uber and Lyft, all right. So these people are basically still unemployed. That's what you call underemployed. If you know, for the last so many years, you've been working at a job making, let's say, 60, 70, 80, $90,000 a year, whatever, whatnot. And all of a sudden you lost that job. You used to work in manufacturing. All right. You used to work, let's say, at the Ford plant, the General Motors plant. They didn't shut down. Now you driving Uber. You underemployed. You got a job, but that ain't nowhere near what you was making to survive. But nevertheless, with all these people that was unemployed beforehand, all right, they could have put these people into these factories to help produce certain things here in America. All right. But nevertheless, in this time, all right, you got more and more people. Well, they say they got 3 million people signed up for unemployment, which really, that number don't really do you no justice, because what's going on is, imagine, Pizza Hut giving out free pizza, right? And you got to call in to get the damn pizza. But you know what I'm saying? Only so many people can get through on the phone line at one time. Only so many people can hit the website at one time before it's a traffic jam, basically, and then everything freezes up. So if Pizza Hut they're like, oh shit, we got orders coming in left and right. There's 100 orders right now. It's not saying that only 100 people want Pizza Hut. There might be 7,000 people that want pizza, but only 100 of them got through. All right. So, hey man, those numbers, like I said, at 3 million, and is way more people than that right now, man. All right. Only 3 million people actually got on to be able to get on. It says, let me see. Ford also announced that it had entered a preliminary discussion with the federal government to build the devices. Automakers' apparent foot dragging seems to have struck a nerve with the president. Trump's own administration has reluctant to sign a deal with GM, claiming that the $1 billion price tag requested by GM was too steep, according to the report of the New York Times, which is bullshit, man. These companies, especially in these times now, they want $1 billion. You know what I'm saying? Like, cuz, hold up. Not only did the government bail you out, what's your boy name was? Barack Obama bailed out the companies. All right, Bush bailed out the people. Obama bailed out the companies, and Trump just signed a stimulus bill, which is still bailing out the companies, and they want even more money. All right, hey, but hey, we're not even gonna get into all the channel stuff and then all this bullshit, man. Maybe if they lowered the price of their cars and shit like that and made them last a little bit longer, people will buy them. But people broke right now and ain't got no jobs. You know what I'm saying? Just think about all the, let's say, Pontiac, Hummer, and all those Saturn, those other car companies that General Motors pretty much shut down. All right, all those people that had jobs, for the most part, the majority of those people was buying General Motor cars, man. So you didn't cut out all those people buying those cars because you just, you so-called couldn't afford to keep these plants open. And granted, you was making the same damn car with different badges on it. You could have made them a little different, but, we're not going to go too far into that. But it says, according to the New York Times, Trump backed away so he could talk to other potential suppliers. The president has until now insisted that American private sector is willing to be able to produce all the supplies that the country needs to stave off basically the virus pandemic. We're literally being besieged in a beautiful way by companies that want to do work and help our country, he said in a press conference last week, significantly citing GM as one of these companies. However, the apparent limits of the free market means Trump may soon be forced to invoke the Defense Production Act activated by the president last week as a fallback measure. The act would allow the federal government to compel manufacturers to produce vital equipment. As recently as Thursday, however, he insisted we don't need it, all right? And that's how they playing these things. This is what their real agenda is, but they're going to, the government is playing, the role is, we're on the people's side. We don't want to force martial law, like with the shit that's going on right now. No, we don't want to enforce no martial law. We don't want to enforce martial law. But then you have these states, all right, and these counties pretty much putting on a stay-at-home order or safer-at-home order, you know what I'm saying, or social distancing, closing down businesses early or whatever, whatnot, which is a soft form of basically martial law, man. You don't have the military, which some places do, but you know what I'm saying? You don't have a full lockdown like that. But nevertheless, this is kind of soothing the civilian population because some of the people seeing it and freaking out. But then you have some of these dumb people that are like, well, they didn't say martial law. It's not martial law. I'm like, bruh, you see the whole thing over here. Everything is out here except for, you see martial law in action basically, but they hadn't declared it on the TV, so you don't believe it's there. You see the troops rolling around and everything. You see these checkpoints. You see how they got you in the house, but it ain't gonna happen here. That can't happen here. They won't never have soldiers in the streets, but they got them. The government ain't gonna ever take over our resources, but that's what they talking about. You see what I'm saying? Well, in this scenario, they're saying that they don't want to force to take over their resources. They're saying that they should just give them up, give up your resources, But nevertheless, this is where we're going to, all right? It says lawmakers on both sides of the aisles have called Trump to enforce the act, though he had resisted thus far. Circumstances may yet force his hand. Exactly what I'm saying, man. All right, that's what they want to do, but they want to make it look like, let's say, for instance, Donald Trump in his position, he don't want to look like, oh, man, I fucked it all up. He wants to make it seem like we forced all this, just like with the COVID-19. We didn't want to microchip everybody. We didn't want to have to lock everybody down, but due to circumstances, this is just what we had to do. We had no other choice, GM is still likely to profit from the crisis. While automakers have suspended production and cut paychecks, it will probably be able to draw from the $500 billion rescue fund allocated by the government's $2 trillion CV stimulus bill. GM dodged failure before, along with Ford and Chrysler receiving $80 billion bailout from the aftermath of the 2008 financial crisis. Hey, so just because right now these situations, they want to get $1 billion, but all of them got to split $80 billion beforehand. Like, what the hell? What's going on, bro? You already got bailed out once. You should be, and you cut a lot of your plants out of production. You know what I'm saying? If you can't pay your bills, bro, you might need to stop your shit, man. What about us, man? If we can't pay our bills, well, the government's bailing us out now, but they might not even bail you all the way out. They might just give you a little something, But ultimately, you go on a regular day, you go charge up a credit card and shit. You think the government finna bail you out because you can't pay your credit card back, man? Real quick, this, like I said, it's gonna be a real quick one. All right, this is Joel chapter 3. I'm gonna start at verse 9. It says, "Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. All right, prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up." And what's really going on in the background is this is what we getting prepared for, man. All right, this is where this is Job chapter 5 and verse 12. It says, "He disappointed the device of the crafty, so that their hand cannot perform their enterprise." And the enterprise that they're trying to enact right now is what? The New World Order. All right. So the Most High is about to, they're using these tactics right now to ease in, for this here New World Order to be set up. You see how they're enacting, locking down, hell, everything is moving as far as a one world government was set up. You have all these different countries enacting the same measures, locking down their countries the same way, man. All right, verse 13, "He taketh the wiles in their own craftiness, and the counsel of the forward is carried headlong." So, hey, basically they're gonna be caught in their own snare, their own trap, man. They don't even realize what they're doing, but they're getting caught in their own snare. This is Job 20 and 22. "In the fullness of his sufficiency, he shall be in straits. Every hand of the wicked shall come upon him. When he is about to fill his belly, the Most High shall cast fury of his wrath upon him, and he shall rain it upon him while he is eating." So we know that, hey, man, this is leading up to what? World War III. This is the end all be all, as we see them starting to gather themselves up and get this here New World Order system pretty much primed and ready to go. All right. So going back to Joel chapter 3, verse, I think we were at 9. It says, "Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war." All right, that's the underlying thing that's going on behind the scenes. "Wake up the mighty men and let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Beat your plowshares and the swords and your pruning hooks and the spears. Let the weak say I am strong." All right. And so ultimately right now, what this is going into is like your agriculture or things. All right. Prime example. We got a real life example going on right now. General Motors and stuff like that. They make basically luxury items, for the sense of we don't need no motherfucking Cadillacs and Chevrolets and shit like that, right? As a nation, we got cars because that's like a luxury. All right, now something that you would need is military vehicles, right? Because these military vehicles are going to help defend your nation, right? So, but you don't see the automaker manufacturers pouring out Humvees and shit like that, right? That's not what they're there for. They're there for, predominantly all of the automakers here in America is all for basically for lack of a better term, a luxury item. You know what I'm saying? You don't really need to survive off of that. You know what I'm saying? That's like McDonald's and stuff like that. Yeah, it's food, but you don't really need that. You know what I'm saying? It's not like a necessity. You know what I'm saying? But nevertheless, right now, as you're starting to see now, in another sense, you got your agriculture things and your farming and, let's say you got Nike and Polo and Tommy Hilfiger. Again, they're making clothes for a luxury scenario, right? Just for you to have some designer shit. But now when you need certain things like military clothes, certain bottling companies making like soda bottles, but now they're making those little water bottles for the military men. The football people who make the football equipment, the football helmets. Now they're making bulletproof helmets. All right, these people that's out here making shit, General Motors, they're trying to get them to make these ventilators. All right, now which we slowly getting out of the war on terrorism, and then now they're coming up with this new invisible enemy, which is the war on health and sicknesses and things like that, which is ultimately bringing them, how after the war on terrorism brought us into this police state, now they're about to block everything down and go into this new world order. So under the guise of fighting this here war on so-called health, all right, they got to band together and use their manufacturing plants that was used for, again, for lack of a better term, a luxury item, something that you don't, not a necessity that you need, all right? Because think about it, you could just have one car company all make one generic car just so we could all have transportation. But you got Ford, Chevy, Chrysler, they all make, various cars or whatever, whatnot. Some for sports cars, some for hauling things, some, family vehicles and so on and so forth. But nevertheless, if they needed, just to make everybody a car, they could just make one car. But they got an abundance of different kind of cars for your own personal usage, But now they starting to make some of these old plants to produce ventilators, and who knows what's next. They're going to just start making different things, from working in an old factory like that where we produce certain things. They have these machines, and really all you have to do is switch out what they would call molds. I used to make bottles and things like that for a certain company or whatever, whatnot. And, once they discontinue one certain bottle, You know, and I was like, oh shit, we about to be out of business. They about to stop making these bottles. Like, nah, they'll send us a new mold with a different bottle and we'll make those, you know, just like at the car manufacturing places, you know. For the most part, they'll keep a body of a car for about 4 years, you know, and they'll switch over. But those cars are all made off of molds. All right. So let's just say for bumpers and things like that, you know, but let's say you got the Dodge Charger and they're making the bumpers for those Dodge Chargers, right? Now, when they come out with a new Dodge Charger, they just get rid of the old mold and they put a new mold onto the machine and they keep producing these things. All right. So for them to just switch out from making Dodge Chargers, they could just swap out the molds to make Humvees or whatever, whatnot, and it's a whole different thing, you know. Or if you got a plant that's making I don't know, anything, you know, mailboxes, right? You know, metal mailboxes. You could change that mold and to start making parts for guns, all right? But here with the General Motors, we starting to see, or Trump talking about the car automakers, you know, using some of their old plants to make these ventilators, all right? Using this for so-called national security, national health, you know, banding together for a national situation. But nevertheless, man, this is where we're going into, all right? So verse 10 again, it says, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say I'm strong. So basically turn your so-called I don't want to keep using the word luxury facilities and things like that, things that's not necessarily a necessity, all right? So your manufacturing plants where they manufacture like Tommy Hilfiger and Polo and shit like that, right? Where they could be manufacturing medical masks, they could be manufacturing medical supplies and so on and so forth, you know. You know, Polo and stuff like that, or the people who make sheets and stuff like that, they could be making the sheets for the hospital beds, you know, gowns and things like that, instead of making, you know, regular designer polo shirts and all kind of things like that, man. So as you see, Donald Trump is urging these companies to go ahead and do it before they so-called force it, but they got it in legislation where they can force you to start doing these things, man. So it's not far-fetched. That's the way that these things are moving, all right? So I'm gonna go ahead and close out with that. Like I said, I just wanted to make a little quick little lesson off of their article real quick, just showing how even some of the smaller prophecies are even speaking loud and clear as we speak right now, man. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and close out with that. Lord willing, this here lesson was edifying into the elect. Until next time, I say, call halal Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakodash. Have honor to the apostles and elders of great millstone that taught us this truth and that rule well. And salutation and much love for you. I can pushing this truth and sincerity in the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. Until next time, I say, stay strong. Shalom.